Welcome to the FX Options Weekly Outlook, a weekly podcast series hosted by Jason Ayres, a top instructor, trader, and founder of OptionSource.net. Join Jason as he discusses the latest trends in the Forex market with a look ahead on the US dollar versus the major currencies using the most commonly used technical indicators.
Well, hi there and welcome to the ISC FX Options Weekly Outlook for October 17th, 2011. As always, this is Jason Ayres of OptionSource.net. Let's start off with a look at the weekly chart of the US dollar index. This is a great way to gain perspective as to how the US dollar has been trading against a basket of currencies. Well, the US dollar index lost considerable ground last week, dropping 2 points to test the upper range of our 76-77 support level. Now, we could see a continuation lower to test 76. However, support here is likely to yield a retracement up to test 78 as resistance. Failure at the 76-77 support opens the window for a drop down to 74. Let's take a quick look at our daily chart. The daily chart reflects the near-term support at 77. A bounce here is likely to test 78 this week. Next up, the CDD, the US versus the Canadian dollar. Well, the CDD continued lower, breaking below our 101-102 support level. The next support sits within this 99-100 zone. However, a reversal and subsequent break back above 102 lends credibility to a move towards 104 and a possible retest of the highs. Let's take a look at the YUK, the US versus the Japanese yen. Well, the YUK continues to trade within a close range. Last Friday's break above 77 opens the window for a test of 78. However, a break below 76.5 once again opens the window for a continuation lower. Let's take a look at the US dollar versus the euro as seen here in the ISC FX options pair value EUI. Well, the EUI continues to trend lower, testing support within the 71.5, 72.5 zone as anticipated. Should this level hold as support, a break above 73 should yield a move to 74.75. A break below 71.5 opens the window for a move down towards 70. Let's take a look at the BPX, the US versus the British pound. Well, the BPX broke below the 63.5, 64 support zone, which now assumes the role of resistance. Our next support sits down at 62.5, 63. We expect some consolidation here. However, if this level fails to hold, we are likely to see a continuation lower towards 61.5. Let's take a look at the US dollar versus the Australian dollar as seen here in the ISC FX options pair value AUX. Well, the AUX gave up over 4 points last week, landing in the 96-97 focal zone last Friday. Now, we do expect a bounce to test 98-99 at the very least after such a significant sell-off. However, our next target to the downside, should that level fail to hold, sits at 94.95. Let's take a look at a few of our key points. First of all, the US dollar index continued lower to test 77. We should see a bounce this week that will test the 78 as resistance. The CDD lost considerable ground last week and appears to be on its way to test 100. A reversal and subsequent break above 102 opens the window for a retest of the highs. The YUK continues to trade within a close range but is consolidating above the 77 level, lending credibility to further upside potential. The EUI tested 71.5, 72.5 as support. If this level holds, we should see a bounce that tests 74.75. The BPX broke below support at 63.5 and appears to be heading lower to test the 62.5, 63 focal zone. The AUX lost considerable ground, finishing last week with a test of support at 96.97. We should see a bounce targeting 98.99 to the upside. And this has been your ISC FX Options Weekly Outlook for October 17th, 2011. As always, this is Jason Ayres inviting you to sign up for your free webinar at www.optionsource.net. Thanks for joining me here this week. We'll see you here next week.
Thank you for participating in this week's session. Please join us again next week. For trading ideas, exchange rates, webinars, news, and commentary, visit www.fxoptions.com. Become an OptionSource.net member. Visit www.optionsource.net. ISE FX options can be easily traded through all options-enabled brokerage accounts. These exchange-listed securities are cash-settled in US dollars and have a European-style exercise.